Yusry, CTO of Preferred. Yusry has been in the tech industry for over 15 years, working in different technical leadership roles for local startups and SMEs. With his diverse experience, Yusry will be sharing how firm can build a remote tech team, successfully in Vietnam. A warm welcome to Yusry.
Hey, hi everyone. I hope you're seeing my shared screen right now. Could someone just let me know? Okay. Yep. Okay. So my today's presentation is about building remote teams, and the focus will be from the viewpoint of a CDO co-founder, the startup. Yeah. Okay. So I'm CEO of Refer. I was also the former CEO of Get Fulfilled, which was another startup that built an overseas team with JDI. I'm also a volunteer technical mentor with SMU Business Incubation Generator, which is SMU's acceleration program. And basically, I've been a lifelong software engineer, working in various startups and SMEs in Singapore. So as mentioned earlier, I'll be sharing my experience building tech teams overseas and specifically in Vietnam. Both Referage and my previous startup built our tech teams, our first tech teams overseas. I think I'd like to begin this session by sharing a few assumptions that I'm focusing my presentation, especially if you're a technical co-founder or product owner with strong technical background. If you're not one, then in short, my recommendation will be to outsource the development, find a technical co-founder, or find a very strong technical leader and hire them as your first hire. I'll cover these 3 points towards the end of the presentation. I think at your startup journey, one of the questions is, you might ask when to go overseas. But to me, it's not about going overseas. Whether you go overseas or you go local, it's about building your tech team. And the question will be when and how to build your tech team. Even if you were to build your team locally, you'll be asking pretty much the same questions. What is your budget and runway? Okay, many investors do recommend anywhere between 12 and 36 months of runway. Some of the bigger investors will then say you need 36 months. Some will say 12 to 24 months is okay. But generally speaking, you need to work out first your monthly budget. And as a technical co-founder, you need to be asking yourself what your current and future roles will be. Are you going to continue being the hands-on engineer? You might have spent time building the prototype yourself, perhaps working with another co-founder and things like that. Or do you actually see yourself that you'll be actually working with cross-functional teams throughout the company, which leaves you less time for hands-on development? I think these are two very fundamental questions to ask yourself. Yeah. And if you feel like you are ready to build your team, whether locally in Vietnam, yeah, it's very important to get some of the important technical decisions out of the way. Number one is that you definitely want to make sure that you have some sort of CI/CD set up. This could be very minimal. It could be as little as very simple automation, or it could be you already have a full suite of unit testing that you have created, and it's already plugged into the main system, into your CI/CD pipeline. Next, basically, you organize your documentation. The moment you hire someone, you need to pass your knowledge on. And if you are not organized before you do the hiring, you will realize that there's a lot of missing information. You may even forget what you want to share with your new hire. Things are all over the place. So it's very important to make sure that you get things organized. So decide upon your project management tools. If you decide that you're going to use Trello, continue using Trello or Jira. There are many
Recording
others
stopped.
that you could use. Yeah. Next is also your third-party tools. If you can make the decision early, I think that's great. If not,
Recording in progress.
then perhaps at a later date, once you have your team all set up. So in there, I'm also saying that you should get all your major technology decisions out of the way. Yeah, because once your team is hired, you will realize that you will get all these questions from your team, and you spend time thinking while they are trying to work out something. It may not be the best use of everyone's time. So the other thing is also you should be asking yourself that when you're looking to build your team, you want people to help you. You're not looking for people to do your job. Because if you're looking at feeling relaxed, getting someone to actually do your job, then probably it's not the right time or the right situation. And when you are looking to build a team, you need to make sure that you fill it with the right people in the roles you need. So as mentioned by Frank, these are some of the typical roles that you might be hiring or you might already have hired prior to expanding into Vietnam. And I have to re-emphasize that your planned role plays a very, very important part in this decision of whom to hire. There is also a tendency for organizations to prefer persons who can play multiple roles. For example, I've heard of many companies or during my mentoring sessions, people asking me about hiring full stack developers who can do mobile, backend, web front end, all that. I think if you can find such people, it's great. But it's also important to know that even though they may be very talented and they are full stack and they can do multiple roles, they tend to work best when they are focused on one thing at a time. So if you can structure your work in such a way that your team can focus, say, for example, on backend matters first and then do the web front end and then the mobile app, but perhaps that it might work to find people who can play multiple roles. Yeah. But generally speaking, I think this needs very good organization and management within your company and not just within the tech team. Your other teams, for example, the product team, the management team needs to understand the difficulties of multitasking and basically be able to organize things in such a way that it optimizes the focus of your employees. Okay, so now that you have figured out the budget and your ideal team roles, it's time to figure out whom to hire. There is also a tendency where, say, for example, you want to hire as many engineers as possible, and doing this by hiring more junior engineers. Generally speaking, this will only work well if you are being the technical co-founder or your team has a technical co-founder who remains as a hands-on engineer. But realistically, the technical co-founder will be working with so many other departments, for example, the product team, the management team, on things that are kind of related to tech, but not quite tech. So I believe that this is actually not really the reality. So hiring many engineers and hiring junior engineers for that matter is probably not ideal and probably will not work. So whom should you be hiring? In my experience, this is generally the order of hiring priority. But say, for example, you have a smaller budget. If you have like a budget for 10 headcount, then I think generally speaking, you still have the same kind of priority, but you have the flexibility of hiring them. But if you have a smaller budget and you're looking at hiring perhaps 2 this month, 1 in the next quarter, and another 1 a month after that, things like that, I would say hire the most senior engineer that you can afford to hire. You may need to hire a few to cover the various roles. And about team welfare, as mentioned, I think if at this point you do not have a project manager, you need to do it you need to make sure there's someone who's doing it. So it could be assigning one of the engineers to help out with team affairs like organizing dinners and things like that, or you do it yourself if you are going to be traveling to and fro Vietnam, Singapore on a very, very regular basis. Next is your project manager. Basically, you may decide that you are running out of steam managing the team. You need to hire this person, and you will probably want to hire earlier if your team is going to be remote. Yeah. Then possibly next is you could start adding more engineers. But I also say that your business analyst is very important. And I would say this is when you and your project manager run out of steam writing project requirements. And this can actually happen pretty quickly as you expand. And you need a QA tester. And this is probably when you have your first release or very close to it. Yeah. People tend to forget about the QA testing part and perhaps a delay to a long time after the first hire. But the ideal case is you start having a tester when you are very close to release. Yeah. So you do not have a CTO. What can you do? My recommendation is to outsource the development. This tends to be a fixed price step, easier for you to manage, and you have a lot less worries about managing the team, about having enough work for your team, which can happen if you do not have the right people at the right place at the right time. If you decide that you do not want to outsource, basically you want to build your team from day one, I would say hire the most senior developer, and ideally with some management experience as your first hire. But generally speaking, you only do this if you know that you're going to do some sort of expansion in the near term. Because if you do not have clear expansion, your senior developer may realize that he's never going to be managing a team or be a team lead or a technical lead, and may decide to leave your company. But of course, it has to be said, find a technical or product co-founder. If you do go for a product co-founder, make sure that he or she is technically experienced with technical background. There are many startups who do find product co-founders, but with very minimal technical experience, and realize that the product building or product design stage is not exactly the easiest, because there will be a lot of conflicts between the product and the technical team. Next is definitely the communication. Communication is very important. If your team's going to be remote from your co-founding team or your management team, it's very important to have a very strong leader in the remote team. Probably it will be your project manager when you start, and progressing to a head of engineering or country manager or VP engineering, as your team grows. It's always very important to have plans to have your organization meet in person regularly. Say, for example, you are in Singapore, perhaps you and a few of your colleagues should fly into the remote team's location and vice versa. And there's also a possibility that your team within Vietnam is all remote. So in this situation, it's very important to also have regular in-person meetings, like 2 days a month or 2 days a quarter kind of thing. Get everyone to one location, and either it could be a working session, or it could be more like a reflecting holiday-like event. Yeah, I think, this is the end of my slide, but I think I just want to add on that on top of what I've shared earlier regarding communication and what Frank has also shared, it's your communication is super important, and it's best to have it in writing. So you may be doing a lot of communication through Google Meet, Slack huddles, or even Microsoft Teams. It's very important that you summarize whatever your discussion is and put it in Slack, or ideally in a proper document, either in Google Drive, or if you use Confluence and document everything, team meetings, technical decisions, and all that. Yep. So that's it for me. If you have any questions, feel free to share it in the general chat, and we'll cover it as when we head off to the Q&A session. Right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Yusry, for sharing your valuable insight. Again, if you have any question for Yusry, please type